Hi, I'm filmmaker Melina Matsoukas, and I'll be moderating the Netflix FYC virtual panel for the third season of Master of None. Joining us are co-creator and EP, writer, and director Aziz Ansari, co-creator and EP Alan Yang, actress and writer Lena Waithe, who plays Denise, and actress Naomi Aki, who plays Alicia. I'd love to start with you, Aziz. Talk us through your inspiration to return back to Master of None and reuniting with this incredible team.
I think the thing that really pushed me to bring the show was a friend of mine. He told me he was a sperm donor for this couple, this queer couple that he was friends with, and he told me the story of going to their house and like making his donation in a cup. And I was like, this is wild. Like, if we do Master Run, we should do something with this. And that was kind of in the back of my head. And one thing I'd always wanted to do in Master of None was like a deep dive on Denise and her relationship. So I just remember I called Alan one day. I was like, all right, what if it's like just like this really intense story about Denise and her wife, and we kind of go through the arc of their relationship, and we set it upstate New York, and we film it in a completely different way, and we kind of move away from everything that people associate with the show. And Alan was really into it. And then I called Lena, and she was down, and we kind of just went from there.
It was really, really rewarding for Aziz and I both to start thinking about this other character and what her life was like. And then from there, going to a different tone and exploring what that would look like, and trying to challenge ourselves, because, we're different people from who we were 5-6 years ago when we started this show. And we wanted the show to reflect that as well.
Naomi, can you talk about the process of getting cast as Alicia? What was your reaction when you got that call?
I was like, really? Like, what do I have to offer to that show? Like, I don't get it. For real. And when I went into the first audition, it wasn't with Aziz and Lena, but I just kind of was riffing off of what was pre-written. You guys don't understand how terrifying it was meeting you guys at first. It was so surreal.
You didn't seem terrified. You seemed very calm.
I was just like, hold it down, trying to play it cool. But like, when we went in, and Aziz just was like, right, I just want you guys to like improvise. And, there was such freedom in that room, and it was a chance. It was like the best way to get to know you, Lena, like, because it was just like, we were just bouncing off of each other, and the energy felt really right. And we felt like we matched each other, and we've got quite a similar energy, I think.
Yeah.
Same intellect as well. I think we were just able to be like, and it was just like, when I got the part, which I was like so excited by, I was just like, yo, this is gonna be a mad process. And it really was. It was just like, I've never felt more like awake during filming something. Like, you can't rest. There's like, you gotta just, I was so tired by the end of every single day.
Man. Yeah, there'll be times where, like Aziz, like, you get 2 takes of this, man. I'm not doing this one more than twice, bro. So I suggest you talk to your DP and talk to your lighting people and get it done, because I'm not doing this again.
Like, it was crazy because that's Aziz in previous seasons. You got
Wait, what? No. Alan, back me up.
Thank you.
Back me up right now.
Yes, get him.
You like, 12 takes.
Because he was trying to come for me. He's like, really?
Oh my God.
It's hard. That's so
No,
hard.
I mean, this season, like, some of the stuff, I mean, it was heavier than other seasons. So the days are like, Master None, the other seasons, like, we'd have some heavy stuff, right? But then there'd be like a silly scene. There'd be days where it's just like Naomi crying all day. And I'm just like, oh, this is not fun. And we did like, when we did like a couple of fun scenes, like, it was like such a relief, and it was also made me laugh because, like, we would be doing like heavy scenes, like argument scenes, and Lena's still like trying to make me laugh with like improvs and stuff. Like, there's like the scene where they're getting divorced, and she was just trying to get me. And I thought it was so beautiful about both their performances. It's like, you can watch a scene and you can feel sad, and you can feel devastated, and then you'll laugh, and it's just so real. And I mean, I was just in awe every day of both of them.
This season of Master of None does an incredible job of tying together more serious storylines with comedic moments. Can you talk a little bit about why you thought that was especially important in the season, and how you go about doing that, especially in writing.
I think when we knew we wanted to focus on love, it was very clear that it would be funny, but it would also be very dramatic, because I think that's just sort of what love is. And so, and I think for us, it really always boils down to honesty. Whenever Aziz and I are talking or we're going back and forth in terms of talking about ideas, we're always trying to be the most honest we can be. We want to be truthful. And I think that's how we've gotten to be so close and really feel like a family, is because we have to be so vulnerable with each other when we tell each other stories, or when we're talking about, these very vulnerable topics. And so, but even in that, because I think myself, Aziz, Alan, we sort of naturally search for humor in things. I think we're able to find humor in something very sad or something very melancholy. And I think that's what this season really represents, is sort of a melancholy meditation on what love is, but also what it can be.
Really beautiful how you insert real life into all of these moments. And I think it's something we all can relate to really beautifully. Naomi, your character, Alicia's journey through IVF, is a prominent story arc this season. Where did you draw inspiration from to portray the side of Alicia?
It was a juggle between researching enough to know the basis, but also leaving an element of surprise for myself, because Alicia wouldn't have known the details of that either. So it's an interesting journey. It felt more like I just wanted to keep myself raw for the emotions that come up, the doubt, the hope, the despair, the kind of driving through. It was really intense, and I think we shot it in quite an intense amount of time. And obviously as well, like the way it's shot with the static camera, there's no hiding, there's no kind of like, oh, if I do some bad acting here, like Aziz can like cut me a deal here, like, do you know what I mean? So there was no hiding, and I feel like in the whole show, we don't hide. Like there is this sense of truth and play. You're so rightly, that like there was no kind of, I've done work where I've been able to hide behind a character. This was like the least amount of acting I've ever done. It was like just me with a different name in a given situation and playing off of Lena, and just being like, okay, who are we today? What are we doing? I remember you saying that right at the beginning of shooting, Lena, like it was like whatever we are on that day is what we'll show. And so I guess with the IVF stuff, it felt like it was a continuation of that stuff.
Yeah, and some of that came from, I think, because Aziz, who can be very prepared, as one needs to be, I think sometimes we had a lot of rehearsal time, which was also really helpful, and it made it so that when we actually shot these wonders, we were very prepared and we were ready to go, but also still had space to play. But I think there were sometimes Aziz was like, okay, so I want you guys to be like this. I want y'all to feel like this when you get to this scene, and I would sometimes have to remind him the very thing that he would talk to me about, which is like, leave it, don't put pressure on it. Like leave space for whatever we bring that day.
Naomi, you also have really lighthearted comedic scenes with Denise. Can you talk about switching tones as an actor?
Yeah, man. Again, I felt like this is where I really lent on Lena and Aziz, because I'm not a comedic person. So I was just like, okay, I know that when I make my mates laugh, it's just because I'm being chubbied. Like, so a lot of the time it was like kind of like letting go, because like I've watched Lena's work, I've watched Aziz's work, and it's funny. And I was just like, oh man, when I got the part, I was just like, how am I gonna, they're proper funny. Like, I don't know how to do it. But there was the intense scenes, you picked it up, and then when it's done, you drop it. And the light scenes, you pick it up and you drop it. And I think what we all have in common is that the work that we do, it was really special to create nuanced characters in that way and get a chance to, that you don't feel wedded to the scene before, to like maintain a mood. It was like the truth of the moment.
Aziz, Dev returns for a few seasons.
Yeah.
The viewers see him at a really low point, like struggling as an actor. Can you talk a bit about why you decided to bring his character back in this really vulnerable way, as opposed to someone who had found success?
I thought it was an interesting place to take that guy, because, that's life. You have ups and downs. And I mean, especially in the last couple of years, like you see how life can deal you a bad hand. And I think it was also interesting to contrast with, how Denise's career was going really well, and also how he kind of hid it from Denise. It just felt like an interesting way to bring the character back, and also kind of talk about how their friendship had changed. I think we talked about this even in the early seasons of Master of None, like the way friendship is portrayed on these shows. Sometimes it's like, oh, you're staying with you're friends with the same 4 people and you see them for lunch like every day. It's like, that's not really how it goes in real life. Sometimes you drift apart, somebody gets married and moves away. Like you just kind of change your dynamic. And it felt fun to explore that and to bring them back in a way where not only had the viewers not seen them in a while, but neither had the characters.
I mean, this season, it goes deeper than ever before, highlighting themes of intimacy, infidelity, and infertility. Why was it so important to show Denise's evolution as a character?
I think for me, it's important to see any queer Black character evolve. I think when it's not enough just to have us be in the scene. It's important for us to be at the center of it. It's important for us to not be perfect. It's important for us to not be praised just because we're different. It's about really seeing us as human beings. And I think that's what's so exciting about this, because what's now become a very well-known episode of television with Thanksgiving about a coming out, I think we're so tied to that part of our journey. But very rarely do we see life after that. And because the truth is, after you come out, well, now you got to go be in relationships. And that's not always fun, because also too, we don't always have a lot of queer couples to look up to. We're looking at often heterosexual couples. And so we're trying to figure out, what are our dynamics? How do we love each other? How do we really create a reality for ourselves? And so that's why I think it even as difficult as it could be to film and do, I always knew that this work has a greater purpose. It's about not just queer Black people seeing themselves, but it's about queer Black people feeling as if they can be complex too.
Yeah, I felt the complexity and the evolution. I mean, I told you that before, but seeing these 2 city women, right, now living their life on the countryside, feeding sheep and chickens, it was...
As a city girl myself, yes, it was...
You love those chickens, though.
I did.
When Lena filmed the scene with the chickens, there was like some sort of Zen thing when Lena was around the chicken and the sheep. I was like, hey, you gotta get a farm. Like, something is going on. You're like so at peace.
Yes.
What's so weird is like, we did this thing where the characters move upstate and whatever, but like we wrote all this like before COVID, before people were actually doing this kind of thing. And it was kind of this weird, like predicting the future kind of moment. But I love seeing Lena and Denise with farm animals.
I was telling Melina this earlier, because Melina was saying to me, she was like, I love seeing you like in the countryside. I love seeing you in that environment. And I was saying I showed it to my former boss, and he sent me a lovely email about the season. And he said, I love that you being in nature was not played as a gag. He was like, because it could have been this thing of, oh, wasn't this funny, this Black lesbian who's from the city in a farm. He said, no, it felt very like, why is that weird? This is very natural. And the truth is, that's how I felt on set, is that I did feel unusually comfortable, like singing the chickens. But I think even Aziz really said that. He was like, this is so beautiful. Like, this is just great. And I love that people are picking up on that.
You directed all episodes of season for the first time. Master of None season 3. I mean, I think it was one of the most accurate and intimate portrayals of Black femininity I've ever seen. Can you speak on your approach to the story and to the season as a whole?
To me, when I thought about the season, I really wanted to kind of push myself as a writer director, and I really kind of approached it as a film. And in the writing, like, we didn't have a writer's room. It was just me and Lena. And, you know, it was a really intimate process. I mean, so much of the writing was just us talking on the phone all the time and just having deep conversations about relationships and just about our fears, about you know, balancing our personal life and our careers. And it always, like, even before we started working on season, whenever Lena and I would catch up, we would get into these long conversations. And I was always like, oh, if we could make a show about these conversations, that would be something. Because to me, like, one of the beautiful things about the season and Master of None is you look at me and Lena, who are on paper, you know, completely different backgrounds, gender, sexuality, everything. But the beauty is in, like, how much shared emotion and feeling there is between us. And I think that was our goal, is to kind of capture that on the page and on the screen. And then, you know, on set, I think every day it was just kind of getting to set. We had the scene, and me, Lena, and Naomi would just sit down and just, you know, we would clear everybody out of the room, and it would just be the three of us just kind of figuring out the scene. Like, does this sound right? Does this feel right? Does this feel right given what we've done the past couple of weeks? And I think it was really all about that collaboration and all of us kind of, you know, knowing what our end goal was. I think Lena said it earlier, like, honesty was a big, you know, pillar for us, of just keeping these characters and these moments honest. And I think, you know, the style of the show was so different, and we kind of figured it out as we went along, even in how we, you know, together worked on even the directing. I felt like was a collaboration with Lena and Naomi, because it's just the two of them for like 90% of the whole thing, you know? So there was like the scene where, I mean, to me, one of my like coolest moments that we had on set was when we did the scene where Alicia comes over with the divorce papers. And we'd originally thought about, you know, one shot, and what we'd rehearsed at one point was like, they start at the dining table, then they walk over to the living room, and then they sit down on the couch. And then we were looking at it, we were like, why don't we just keep the camera right on the table? Alicia walks away, comes back, we stay on Denise. Like, that feels like what we're doing. And it was like a nice moment where all three of us clicked, and we're like, oh, this feels like what we're doing. Yeah. And we found like a voice, and we found a style. And I think it was about the three of us always being in tune, both in the style of filmmaking, the style of acting, and the style of dialogue. And I think that's what we did to get the product that we ended up getting.
I love that. I noticed so many scenes where you started and there's like no characters in the frame, and then they walk in or they walk through, or you're left with one person, and you get to really feel their emotion and what they're experiencing. It was a really beautiful way to develop, I think, that relationship and see it transform right in front of you.
I mean, that was another thing in the scene in the IVF episode where Naomi's doing her first injection. You know, in the script, that was like, you know, she tries to do it, she walks away, and then you keep cutting to a clock or something. And then Naomi was like, I think we should just stay with me. I walk away, I come back, I walk away, I come back, and then I call my mom. And I was like, that's absolutely right. And that's what we did. And it's a great scene from Naomi, because you don't leave that moment. You're with her through all of those feelings she's going through before she does the first injection.
Yeah, such a beautiful way to discover the characters. Even editorial choices that you have, like, what's one thing is small, but it really stuck with me when she's talking about, you know, the mugshot, her piece of art on the wall, and you never got to it until the end of the scene, and then you use it to transition into the next. I thought it was so beautiful and well thought of, and like, it just puts so much onus on the audience to like discover, you know? That was really interesting choices.
Yeah.
What do you guys want viewers to take away from the new season of Master of None?
My hope is that it's definitely a bold departure from what we used to do. And I just hope that people come along with us and stay with us on the journey. And and they aren't mad it's not me and Arnold eating tacos. One of the key things that Alan and I always, a phrase that always comes up when we're working on Master of None is like, I've never seen that before. And when I think about Moments in Love, like, it's pushing that idea to the max. Because look, like, there's ideas in Moments in Love that at one point were ideas for my character. And you could have seen me and my partner talking about wanting to have a baby or whatever. But you know what? I've seen that a million times. I've never seen the stuff that Denise and Alicia are talking about and going through. And I hope that that excitement is there that I had being on set every day and watching these two and their performances and what they were talking about and what they're going through and how fresh it felt. I hope that comes through for people watching, because it was electric for me, and I'm really proud of the work they did.
People will get from it whatever they bring to it. That's just how I believe. You know,
I like that.
Because if somebody wants to come to this and be upset about it or find flaws in it or try to like sort of make it into something that's not, they will do that. There's nothing the show can do to make them not do that. If they come to this with an open heart and an open mind and want to say, wow, this is a something that I haven't seen before. This is very vulnerable. And this is like a really beautiful piece of art that these people have made and we get to watch it. If they come to it with that state of mind, that's what they're going to get. So I think, to me, that's what art is. It's there for us to bring our stuff to it and take away from it whatever we need.
I like it.
That's my, that's how I feel about art.
Yeah. I love it.
I agree. Well, thank you all for being here today. And
Melina, so nice to see you. Thank you.
I know.
So
Yes,
glad
we
to be
appreciate
here,
it.
and thank you for sharing. It is a beautiful piece of art, and I'm so proud of you guys, and I hope you're proud of yourselves. It's an incredible achievement, and I can't wait for the world to experience it as well.